All right, hello everyone, and welcome to everyone's favorite podcast.
The best one.
Yep, Theorycrafting Thursday, your friendly neighborhood Heroes of New Earth podcast. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Ursinity, and I'm with Proud. Hello, Proud Dota.
Yeah. Hey.
Yep. So this is a podcast. We're gonna talk about Dota 2. So how's Dota 2 been treating you, Proud?
Dota 2
Also,
been treating me? How is it? Well, I'll tell you,
yeah.
sir. Pretty shit. I mean, pretty fucking garbage. Fucking hate this game. It's for fucking idiots. And I lost in the CSL quarterfinals, and it sucked, and I hated it. And that was very sad, and I'm very depressed.
Yeah, rip. I mean, I know we're not gonna harp on losing streaks, but it sounds like both of us have had similar opinions
Tough
on
life.
Dota 2 recently. But as our motto, or I wouldn't say our motto, but as my motto is that I stole from Scrunk and I cannot take credit for. After every losing streak comes a winning streak. So I feel like I'm due for a winning streak, and maybe what it will be 6.87 will be my winning streak. I hope.
Yeah. I think at the end of every patch, I just, like, everything goes to shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. I know, like, before my philosophy that I've stated publicly, and hopefully I can gain the .p listenership some MMR this way, I've always found the best success playing ranked right after a patch comes out. Like, I'll give it, like, a week to figure the patch out and on ranked, and then I'll play, like, for the next couple months, I'll play some ranked, and people have not at that point discovered, like, oh man, X hero is flavor of the month or flavor of the patch. And so ranked is actually fun and I have a good time. So I'm hoping to do that with 6.87. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna. Unfortunately, when this patch came out, I couldn't actually hit up a shit ton of ranked because it was like the holidays and all that shit. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time I'm ready. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I unfortunately I think if the patch comes out, I mean, of course, we'll do our 6.87 patch when 6.87 is actually coming out. There are a lot of theory crafting that it's going to be out in the next, like, in this week, potentially on the day this podcast comes out.
God,
And
I
of
hope
course,
so.
when it comes out, Proud, you and I, we will again be doing a long form patch analysis video.
Yeah.
Which will be pretty hype. I know, like, last patch we did patch podcasts. I think episode 1 was Woodshrew and Korean barbecue, and then episode 2 is myself and Korean barbecue. And that was a lot of podcasting. That was like 8 hours of podcasting between the two episodes. I know me and Korean barbecue made a 5-hour podcast, which was something.
Yeah.
But that being said,
If you wanna do that again, man, hit me up because I'm into that.
yeah, I was the stand-in, so I
Okay.
definitely, you and I will be doing some thorough podcast talking.
Yeah.
Or not
And how
not
much I
even,
like it when you're thorough with me.
yep. That's my game plan. But anyway, that's 6.87. Look out for that when it comes out. That is just a fair warning, right? If the patch is coming out and it is before next week's episode, then be aware. Check our YouTube channel. At our earliest convenience, Proud and I will be making an exhaustive patch review. That being said, maybe the patch will change this, maybe not. But for our unnamed segment this week, we are going to be talking about early, like, starting and slash early game core items. The stipulation Proud made
Not
very
to
accurately.
not like core items as in, like, Bloodstone is core on this hero, like core as in like items for core, like 1, 2, 3 position.
Yes. And the stipulation Proud made, which narrows things down, is before you start working on your first core item. Like, gosh, that I worded
Yeah,
this so
core items
poorly.
for core before they start on their core.
Yeah. Anyway, like, before your first, like, big ticket item, basically, like, before you're spending more than
Before S
1,000
and
gold on
Y
an item.
for every hero, basically. So the items that you buy before S and Y is the segment.
Yeah, I will, like, first 7-ish minutes. Anyway, what are your opinions on this, Proud? I know I've got some.
All right. Well, as far as like starting like your opening 600, as I've said, every single hero, Tango, Salve, Stout, Mango. It's like I don't give a shit. Let's do that. And
Yeah,
not actually for everyone. Like if you're not melee, please don't buy a Stout. And most offlaners, there's some weird shit you want to do. Like you want to buy like Boots first or Iron Talon first, which is just dopey. Like Iron Talon Tango is like every melee offlaner right now.
yeah,
But yeah, like if you're just playing like a safe laner, Stout Tango, Salve Mango, really fucking good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. You definitely turned me around on that one. I used to do like some, the old build I used to do a lot would be like stout, tango, salve, and then go off and buy the quelling at the side shop.
Yeah,
Um,
like super fast.
but nowadays mango's just like mango is such an item. Like mangoes are so good. They're so tasty. I'm a big fan. So I'm definitely in the same boat if you're playing most melee cores, almost all of them honestly. Especially safe laners, I just go stout, like you said, stout, tango, mango,
It's hard to
salve,
remember all those fucking words.
all those A's.
Yeah.
Um, that being
Like,
said, okay, what?
no, there's like the one exception to this is like on PL. Sometimes I don't buy stout and I just go ring of protection if the lane's easy, but that's very rare. And generally get that stout.
Yeah, yeah, and in some lanes where I know I'm gonna have like a really easy time and they can't trade with me, I won't go salve. I'll just go like tango mango, and then like whatever else I need gets a little faster. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what's a bad offlaner. Like if it's a faceless void off lane and
Yeah,
I
hero
am
is scary.
well, no, I know, but if I am like a ranged hero that he
Yeah.
can't trade with,
All
it's
right.
like if I'm playing like Medusa or Drow, Medusa's probably a bad example.
No,
If I'm
Deuce is
playing
great.
Drow, it's just like, all right, like I'm just gonna send you away and punch you a bunch of times.
Okay.
Um, anyway, what about mid lane? I feel like mid lane is a lot simpler and like there's not really much discussion. I feel like every mid laner nowadays, it's like, right, I buy a null, I buy two fairy fires, and I get two pooled, and
Yeah.
that is Dota 2. Some
Yeah, that's
people
that's that's pretty fair.
And some people go one fairy fire and then they get the early salve, right? I don't know if you're a fan of the double fairy fire. I can't remember if it was you or somebody else
Nah,
that I
I'm
had this
I'm, I'm
argument with.
pro. I'm pro double fairy fire, especially as it like saved my life as a windrunner once. Like I got both of them off, and it was just like the only reason I lived. It was awesome.
Okay, that was the argument I made. Somebody I was talking with that was like, you only need one fairy fire, and two is overkill. And I was like, dude, damage and 75 health. And sure, you can't use them like in succession rapidly,
Yeah,
but like it's only like what a 6 second buffer or
five
something
or
between.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably six. I click on it and then it becomes five. So
Yeah. But yeah, so double fairy fire or single fairy fire if you're that guy I argued with. Either way, fairy
I
fire,
think
good
that's
item.
that's stupid. Like I would never look at fairy fire. Like unless you're an item slot starved hero, which mids aren't. Like you buy like a 500 gold item, your bottle, boots, and a TP, and that's two slots left over. Like you can have a branch and a fairy fire in there for a pretty long time. So
Yeah.
like two fairy fires, yeah, you use one, but it's also the most efficient damage in the game. Like besides divine rapier probably, but like two damage for 75 gold is fucking absurd.
Yeah. What about what about fairy fire on non-mid heroes? I have I've had problems with this because I wouldn't say I often buy fairy fire on like supports or almost never offlaners, or almost never safe laners either. But I've seen it before, especially supports. That's mostly where I'm coming from. I like sometimes I'm like, boy, I have 75 gold. Do I buy a branch or do I buy a fairy fire? And then
Yeah,
every time I go fairy fire, I'm like, this is a good idea, and I like this. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, boy, why did I spend 75 gold on this stupid little leaf thing? And
yeah.
I don't need this in my life right now. That tends to
Well,
be my prerogative.
so this is like the thought process I think on like every item that isn't what you're looking to get when you're like six slotted, right? It's like is buying this like a worthwhile investment? And that basically again like boils down to like am I gonna get value out of this? So if you're not gonna get value out of the on use 75 health, that means that you weren't like trading and you weren't close to dying ever. So and then also the plus damage is like if you do fucking 30 damage, like you can still get every last hit, but if your last hits are being contested, like you need every damage you get. So like you only want fairy fire if like A, you're gonna be trading with someone or there's like a chance you might get ganked, and B, you're gonna like be contested for last hits. So like there are a lot of heroes. Like if I'm safe laning, like I don't know, a Spectre and I have a really strong tri lane, like I would probably never get a fairy fire for that. But like if we're doing like a very I don't know, like not very strong dual lane, or at least like a dual safe lane that's like gonna get contested, like they're like Lich Faceless Void or something aggro, and we're like Sven Lion, like you might actually get a fairy fire for that as the Sven there, because like you're gonna be leveraging your health a lot, and you're gonna be contesting the last hits and all that shit. So like that's kind of when I would get it. If your lane is going to be contested, I get it every game on Lone Druid though, because that dude is so fucking squishy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and we talk about this with Mango, but it's an important point to stress. But if you have a small health pool, that Fairy Fire is more, proportionally effective. Just like
Yeah,
if you have a small mana pool, mangoes are proportionally more effective. Which it sounds really simple, but it has a lot of implications that can be very important in the midst of a game,
yeah.
right?
It can
Um,
become like really like if fairy fire is also like a really good baiting weapon or tool, right? Like if someone's like sees you're kind of low and then they just like go on you because like oh shit I can do fucking 50 damage real quick and then 50 turns into 125 and then I'm like
yeah,
shit wasn't prepared for you to like gain half your health and then like
I
most squishy heroes sorry go on.
no, that's fine. I was gonna go on a weird tangent.
Okay, I was just gonna say like most squishy heroes like they're balanced around like the fact that they're squishy, and like most heroes don't die when breezes happen. They die when enough Dota things happen that a hero will die. Like Lone Druid is really squishy, but that's also because he has his bear to zone for him when he gets six. He can like toggle forms and shit. He has a fear, all that shit. So like yeah, Lone Druid is really squishy, but I have all these defensive things. So like my 100 health looks, a lot. My 100 health is a lot harder to take down than like a Doom's 100 health.
Yep.
So the fact that Fairy Fire does fill it up more, like even though that doesn't make quite as much sense at a deeper level, like Lone Druid's very small health pool is harder to take down. So the 75 health, like because he's balanced around having low health, the 75 is worth a lot more.
Yeah, that's an important thing to know. Like, I mean, the easiest example is just like if you have high armor, 75 health is a lot more
Yeah,
EHP than 75 health on a tiny who has zero armor.
yeah, like
Um,
Terrorblade, Fairy Fire and Terrorblade, like that's a lot
yeah.
bigger deal than 75 on like a Doom.
So thinking about, and this is my weird tangent that I was going to go on, and it's not that far aflung from our
I'm
discussion,
ready.
but
I'm
thinking
ready.
about psychology of mid players, do you think Fairy Fire is more important and more effective on mid players because mid players tend to be aggressive and dive a lot, especially the mid players I know. They
Yeah.
tend to be more aggro and like overconfident, be like, "Oh man, I can just go kill that guy." And do you think the fairy fire is good because then you can in turn bait people? Although I suppose the counter argument can be made is people could think like, "Oh man, I can totally dive that. I have a fairy fire that's
Yeah.
75 easy health."
Yeah,
Um,
that was me in one of my 1v1 meta games I was practicing. I just like forgot to use the fairy fire, even though I was like, okay, I'll attack and then use fairy fire, and I just didn't. I died for no fucking reason.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah,
I've
it's
been
it's
there many
it's
times.
definitely good. It's definitely really good against mid players. Like especially when Fairy Fire first came out, right? Like I'm sure we all had at least one game where our mid died, and then they were like, "What the fuck? Why do you go green and then have health?" And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
Fairy Fire's in the game now. You got to plan for it. He's like, "Shit, I gotta fucking use my head now," and that's really hard for a lot of people. It's like Fairy
yeah.
Fire in 1v1 matchups, man, especially against mid players who like want to, like quap blink on you, press E, and then like receive free kill. Like if you have a Fairy Fire to back that up, it can fuck with their math a lot.
Oh yeah, math is hard, especially when you're a mid player. Um, Did we? All right. So here's the other tangent, or not tangent, but here's the other uh, thing. After like your various starting items,
Yeah.
what situations? And obviously, we have to make the stipulation. It all depends on the hero, but in general, what if you're playing like a safe lane core? Where does the decision come in whether you're going to go like let's say you're an Aquila builder or Akia, whatever.
I call it Aki. Just keep
Where
it short and sweet.
Aki is good, yeah. Where does the decision come in like should I immediately buy boots? Like, generally you go like stout and regen and then you go like quelling and then boots. That's generally my opening. But
Yeah.
some people they won't get boots, they'll be like, right, I'm gonna finish my Aquila and then go boots. What do you think is the thought process in that? Like prioritizing boots or not boots, like
Um
rationale wise?
the as far as like what people could possibly think about that, I'm not sure, honestly. I'm not sure where the logic in building Aki first comes in. Like maybe you want the Bassi to like control the wave and fuck with the offlaner, but like I never really see people doing that much. Like toggling Bassi to fuck with their last hits. But then also if your lane's being contested, like being able to actually walk away from them or towards them sounds pretty useful.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know when you would ever really go like any item besides like okay like if I start Ring of Protection like on a lot of ranged tiers I do this and on Phantom Lancer like I'll start Ring of Protection and then I'll finish the Bassi off really early just to get like mana regen in my lane for like me and my supports and the 6 damage is nice but
Hmm.
like I don't know boots are like 400 gold man they're so cheap just buy that shit. So
Okay.
good.
That was more decisive than I thought, because I've had a lot of times where I'm like, boy, I wish I just had some stats. Like in my mind,
Just
the
level
like
up.
the mental, yeah, just level
It's
up.
the easiest way to
Easy
get them.
advice.
And you have to
The
take courier for that shit. You don't deserve courier. You're fucking safe lane. You don't get shit. You get
That's
all the
true.
creeps, and you want the courier. My courier that I bought for the mid
Yeah.
player with my own gold. For 20 years, I've had that courier, and you want it. No, fuck you.
This is so now that we've kind of wrapped that up, boots are good. I will offer my tip of the week in that if you steal the courier from the mid player before they have their bottle, you should be like put in prison or low priority or
Yeah.
something. That's like my ultimate Dota pet peeve, and it's come up recently. But like unless your mid is an invoker, if you are stealing the courier at like a minute 30 and you see your mid player, your mid quap has 600 out of 660 necessary gold, and you're like, no, I need my ring of protection in the off lane to finish my Iron Talon. I want to stab you in the throat. Like honestly, so many games are lost because people are like, I need the courier. It's the communal courier. It's not the communal courier. It's the mid's courier for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
God.
But yeah,
All right.
I feel like every time I play mid, like there's some fucking shitty ass goddamn fucking slark who started like circlet and then buys a slipper at the shop and is like burying his first 190 gold this fucking wraithband recipe across the fucking map, and I'm like, dude, like really? Like, do you need fucking like 3 damage that badly in your fucking lane that's like free farm? Like, is that the most important thing in this game right now? Your fucking 3 damage.
Yeah.
And when Wand had a recipe, holy shit! Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Oh my God. Those were dark times. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my PSA. That's the
yeah.
top PSA.
So
Don't use
the
courier.
the main thing that should inform your early item decisions as a safe laner is what can I buy at the side shop. Like I'll start Ring of Protection because I can buy the fucking Sage's Mask at the side shop. I don't start Sage's Mask because I have to fucking take fucking courier. It's not. Don't do that. Don't take the courier, dude. So just like buy quelling at the side shop, buy boots at the side shop. You can't buy regen at the side shop. Don't start quelling because if you start quelling, turns out you needed regen, you're fucked. If you start regen, then you need quelling and not regen, you can just sell it for like half value, and that's like worth the risk. Like opportunity cost, yeah. Like I don't know. A lot of times I see people like with one set of regen instead of two, and they start stout quelling, and I'm like, that's stupid, and you're stupid. And then it works out for him. But like, was it like they saved like 50 gold? Was that really worth the risk? Like, what if you needed that salve? Like, what if someone ganked your lane and you're at 100 health and you want to farm, but you're at 100 health? It's like fuck.
Yep.
Pay the 50 gold, man. It's an investment for your children.
I cannot agree more. So on that note, we are going to be playing a combo this week that we'll probably not be using the courier for. Almost certainly not be using the courier for. Um, and yeah, so we're gonna play two heroes. Faceless Void is one of them, and Potom or Mirana is the other one.
Hakuna Marana.
And yeah, Hakuna Mirana. What a wonderful thing.
What a
That
shitty
is,
hero, though.
yeah, God. So generally on Theory Crafting Thursday, what we like to do is pick a couple of heroes that win, and are good heroes, and we think are good. This was more like, hey, Ursinity, what do you want to test? And hey, Proud, what do you want to test? And you were like, hey, I want to play Faceless Void. And I was like, hey, I think Mirana is a hero. And it turns out, yes, Mirana
You
is a
gotta play her
hero.
sometime.
Yeah, yeah. So we're not like this is not a combo that is necessarily amazing, but I think it
So
has potential, and I
my
like.
my statement. So I was like, I want to try out Wog Void because I feel like that needs to be put to rest, at least in my mind, one way or another. Because I hear about that all the time, and I think it sounds cool, but like no one's playing it in professionals or anything. And that's
Badman farms MMR with it.
Batman does what?
He's farming MMR with it. Although,
Oh my god, with
it,
Woggle Void.
yeah, Badman
Holy
was
shit,
playing Wagga Void
that's so funny.
for a while. I don't know if he's still
Cool.
doing it right now, but like a couple weeks ago, he was super into it.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I want to test this out, and then Urtzi was like, yo, I'm gonna play Mirana, and I was like, all right, we just trying to like disprove two things in one episode, just get that out of the way. So that's how I feel about this now. But we'll see what happens.
I so recently I've been voicing the opinion that Dota is not always a game of like which team is better. comp wise. It's more of a game of which team has 5 players that are less idiotic and make less mistakes and do better things than the other team, as evidenced by the fact that like you can have like awesome comps and you'll lose to 5 carries because it's just like, oh cool, 3 of them got farmed by 40 minutes, so like we can't deal with it, and we have a Rubik and a Lion or something. Um, but so hopefully that hopefully that's what's going to happen in this game for us, with Mirana Faceless Void. That being said, there is some logic behind it, right? Faceless Void is a very independent offlaner in almost all situations, and he can do really well by himself. And then Mirana can roam, since and she can really dominate the mid lane. And the other nice thing is that Mirana now is a pretty legit roamer in some people's mind, not necessarily mine, because she can jungle farm while still exerting pressure on the map by not being present, and having the enemy mid laner think like, oh boy, is an arrow coming? Oh man, I don't know. And they're gonna have to play defensively. So she has that strength to her. If we're being honest, I think Mirana is a garbage hero. And I I've seen some very good Mirana players play Mirana, like our good friend Flub, who occasionally plays Mirana. He has some games where he hits every arrow, and I'm like, dude, Mirana is such a legit hero. This is amazing. This is so game winning. And then every other Mirana game, I'm like, boy, you made 3 stuns when you could have picked any other hero that stuns with the press of a button instead of having to bank on your
Yeah.
not only your good aim, but the enemy doing like certain movements that lead into
Yeah,
stuns.
nothing to counter it, and then yeah, fuck.
And it's slow moving, so you can see it and dodge it. That being said, I am kind of looking forward to playing this, even though we may lose some party MMR. I think Mirana is definitely a fun hero. Think kind of like Pudge, right? That's like the Pudge effect is skill shots are very satisfying to hit. So like you're playing Mirana and you're like,
Yeah,
boy, I hit that arrow, and like even if
I
you do
deserve that
nothing,
kill.
exactly, it's like effective. Like you get that dopamine rush, right? Um,
Yep. That's when you go, that's dope, right?
exactly. Yep, that's what the scientists named it after.
Yo, I mean, that's dope, and that's dopamine.
Yep. I'm sure we have some scientists in the dot community, and they could confirm that.
Yeah.
That being said, what are we thinking with the early game for this, right? So you're gonna be offlaning, of course, solo
Yeah.
offlane. I'll be roaming, and we'll be playing with 3 random people that'll probably do something.
Okay, so outside of just like, okay, I put down Chrono and you shoot an arrow into it and we have redundant stunts happening. I feel like the other thing is like if you're around the map, like forcing them to rotate and shit, like that'll give me some space to be a badass motherfucker. And like Faceless Void can like contest like any safe laner, man. He's got he like untakes damage and then he starts with like 60 base damage and then he also has a stun.
And
That's
he
really
naturally
good.
builds Iron Talon, so he does like
Yeah,
60 plus 25%.
T creeps and shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he can farm, for sure, and he's getting decent experience and shit. Yeah, he's there are very few melee safe laners I play where I go up against the Faceless Void and I'm not like shit. I hope my support never leaves me.
Yep. I I play quite a bit of Faces Void, and I definitely will echo your sentiment. I know one of the issues I have as an offlane Faceless Void is when I'm up against either a tri-lane with a like long chain of CCs that they can just kill me entirely in. So like if they're playing like Shadow Shaman, Lion, PL, or something, or if they have like long silences, obviously.
Sure.
But in general, like unless they commit everything to killing me, like I'm gonna live or probably come out completely unscathed. A lion in general is pretty annoying. I suppose Coddle, but nobody plays that god awful hero. Would be annoying because if you have no mana, you can't jump.
That's
Um,
true.
the other thing is like if you're a new Faceless Void player, a lot of people they tend to over rely on their jump. So
Yeah.
they think early game it has think this the cooldown at level 1 is 16 seconds.
Yeah, it's
And
16.
like 16 seconds is a long time. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it, but it's a long time. And using one leap to recover like 75 health at with a level 1 now means you're going to be zoned out of XP for the next 16 seconds at the very least.
Yeah.
So, it's It's
And
not
even more
as
that,
one-sided as
like when you're laning as the offlaner, all it takes is like them to zone you for 1 or 2 waves, and then all of a sudden you can't contest their safe laner, and then their supports are free to roam, and everything falls down from there. Like everything in Dota is pretty snowbally, but especially on the offlane, like one bad stretch of 30 seconds or one bad creep wave can set the tone for the entire laning phase and just fuck you up completely.
absolutely. But that's why you have Iron Talon.
Yep.
And I'm trying to. I don't know if we've discussed Iron Talon recently outside of passing, but Iron Talon's a really good item, it turns out. And 6186 has proven that. 6187 will almost definitely nerf Iron Talon in some fashion,
Dude, I hope not, man.
or they'll just nerf the jungle.
I feel like that's going to become a medium camp. Like that'll kind of nerf Iron Talon in that you don't just like use Iron Talon on this one huge ass creep because most medium
Yeah,
camps outside of Centaur are like a bunch of like kind of equal size creeps, right? So
yeah, that's a good
that'll
idea.
help. That'll help a lot. But man, if they nerf Iron Talon, then like Lone Druid is like one of the only offlaners that doesn't rely on Iron Talon and still farms that camp. So that'll be sad. Like as the Lone Druid and Nature's Prophet didn't get enough love right now.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's actually a really interesting nerf. Like, even though that's like tangential, I'd be totally down for that. Although,
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Like 90% sure.
yeah, I'm actually amazed that they made it a hard camp in the first place.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And that'll also nerf like enchanters and shit too. Like I feel like that just solves a lot of issues.
Yeah, boy, you just like blew my mind. Actually, that makes so much sense.
I
I
do
don't know
that
if
all the
you
time.
like
Don't worry about it.
stole that from somebody, but that's like call Ice Frog up and be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
buddy."
I mean I've seen it around. And I won't like take credit or anything. But like
Okay.
that's something I've seen a couple times, and I'm like, yep, like it's not even worth talking about. Like that's it. That you figured it out. Thank you.
Yep. Heard it here first. Proud original thought. Change hard camp to medium camp.
I'm a great thinker of our time.
Yep. And maybe we just flip the ancients. So ancients are near the tier one off lane, and then hard camp or medium camp now is closer to mid. That'd be
What
interesting.
if we just
It'd
put
be
ancients
terrible.
between the mid towers?
I like that idea. So my like ultimate dream for Dota 2 is them to put Super Creeps mode back in. Have you ever played Super Creeps mode in Dota
Because
1? Do you
that's when
know
you
what it
like
is?
start with them, right?
No. So
No, I don't
Super
know.
Creeps mode was basically every I don't remember the exact timing. I think it was like every 5 minutes. Every each team would basically spawn like if anybody played the Year Beast custom game,
Oh
would spawn
yeah,
one of those and it would send it down a lane, and you couldn't control it. It would just like passively like I remember
yeah,
very
yeah,
clearly one of them was a Hydralisk, and so it would just send a Hydralisk down like bottom lane or whatever,
yeah. Some like
and the enemy
PVE
team
shit.
yeah. And the enemy team would be like sending a huge turtle down the lane, and you got like huge bounties of gold for killing them, and they were good at pushing. So it put like a sense of immediacy in the game, where it's like, all right,
Yeah,
we're pushing next 5 minute mark because we're gonna have a Hydralisk. Um, that has not been put into Dota 2 yet, but if it does, I would love to play it because it was super fun to play in Dota
yeah.
1.
That sounds cute. All
Um,
right. So what do you actually like build wise on Mirana like items? Like I always see different shit. Like some people they go like Maelstrom and shit and try to right click. Other people they're like I have Guardian Greaves and then it's kind of weird.
yeah.
Um, and then other people are like Glimmer Capes and fucking Solar Crests and shit.
Yeah, so I actually want to check this right now. I'm pretty sure I have like less than 5 Mirana games in my entire life
I like it.
because of my like dislike of the hero. That being
Hoping that doesn't turn
said,
into you telling me to play Mirana.
okay, Mirana. I have 11 games with a 64% win rate on Mirana,
There you go.
actually. Boys,
Yeah,
so
we're
we pretty much won already.
yeah, statistically probable.
Yep, my last game was 10 months ago, and before that, it was in 2014. So this
Okay.
is gonna go well.
Yeah.
That being said, Mirana, I'm like a firm believer in roaming Mirana with just like basic agi stat items. So
Yeah.
like treads or phase, Aki, and
Drum and
like
shit.
yeah, eventually drums and
I feel like
and wire diffusal.
yeah. I diffuse Mirana. Okay, I was actually gonna bring this up. So in Dota 1, like every time I saw Mirana, she just got a diffusal. Like no other hero besides like illusion heroes and Naga and PL and all that shit. Like they got diffusal. No one else did except for Mirana. So I don't really know why that is, but I always liked it. So like when the person I started playing Dota with was picking Mirana, I was like, "Yo, build diffusal," and they were like, "Why?" I was like, "Yo, just do it." I don't know either. Just do it, and it always
Yeah.
works.
I so I think both of us are big believers in diffusal blades. Some people are
No,
not.
I hate it.
Oh, you're not? Okay, well, I
I mean, I
am.
build it on PL because I'm not a fucking idiot. But
Okay,
no,
so
this item sucks.
Diffusal Blade is like an amazing item. It's so much value for the stats. I was actually going to tell you to build Diffusal on Faceless Void potentially. Like as
That way I can
a
chrono them and like then slow them down inside the
no,
chrono.
it's so much agility, dude. And
I
yes,
know it's
obviously
Value Town
Diffusal is
USA, but damn, dude.
it has so much agility component. It gives you the mana you really need. It gives you a potentially a
The
slow
mana you really need. This sounds like a fucking
dude. Void
tagline.
needs mana.
Doesn't mean
Void has mana
anything.
problems.
Gives you the, as opposed to other things that give you mana, it's like auxiliary mana, but like diffusal mana, man, that's the important one. That's
And all
high
right,
value mana.
and it does like whatever it is, 19 magical damage every single hit. That's effective damage, like EHP but EDMG. It's a really good
Acronyms,
item.
man.
Diffusal is awesome. I'm telling you, it's so much value, and they buff it like every patch too.
Yeah, diffusal is I think it's like the most value you can get for agi. Like the diffusal 2 is like the most efficient agility you can gain from any
Yes.
item, and like that is really good. I don't know, man. Like the charges, if the charges aren't like against a Omni Knight or something, like there are so many heroes that I build on against Omni Knight, and then I'm just so fucked. It's like I'm a Juggernaut, and then like I have S and Y, and my only other damage source is like 35 damage plus the 25 burn from diffusal, and like it's cute, but it's so ineffectual.
Um, so I kind of agree with you in that, like, it's definitely it feels ineffectual sometimes because it doesn't give you anything in the way of like tankiness. And if you're building it like early, like even PL is a good example. If you're building like first item diffusal, you are so squishy, it's ridiculous. But especially with I think the Waga build, if you're going Vanguard Radiance and then like a diffusal, I think that's like a lot of effective damage for, and you might become slot starved, but that's a whole nother issue. But I think it's just like a lot of effective damage for and utility potentially for not a lot of money, and I'm a big fan of diffusal. I
Yeah,
think it's like a sleeper item. Same thing with like Atos. Atos, like one more buff, and Atos is going to be like the sleeper item. I'm all about it.
yeah. I mean, I really want to like diffusal, and I want to see the situation where it works. Like I've been against Omni Knights on like PA, and I'm like, okay, Manta diffusal, here we go, it's gonna be great. And then just like I dispel, repel, and then nothing happens. And like the damage is good. It's just not like for its price and like where it sits. Like it's not your move speed item, and it's not going to turn into an abyssal, and it doesn't do anything that transformative. I don't know. Like item slots are so limited. It's so rare for me to like see diffusal, and if it's not like it's not like Phantom Lancer level like real diffusal shit. It's really hard for it to be like totally worth that slot to me if you're not like dispelling repel and guardian angel and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I see
At
where you're
least
coming
on a
from.
one, like I on Faceless Void, I can honestly see it because his right clicks aren't that effective. But then if they're also burning mana, like that adds some extra value. So I can see that. But like
Yeah,
if I'm playing Juggernaut, like if I'm gonna go Diffusal, it's gonna have to be for a really fucking good reason.
I mean, I've actually we've seen diffusal in some pro games on Juggernaut just because it's been super
Well,
efficient.
yeah, for
Um,
purging Ghost Scepter and shit,
well,
which is
that
like a valid reason, right?
yeah,
You
that,
can
but
get it
also
on
like
Ursa.
just other things. I'm sure. Now, like I don't have any of these games pulled up, but um,
I'm pretty sure the only time I've seen that is to purge Ghost
oh,
Scepter.
I've seen it just like generally like somebody will go like S and Y blink diffusal, and they just like they have enough tankiness and move speed from S and
Fucking
Y,
heathen.
and
No,
they just like
stop it.
punch people to death with
Go
diffusal
blink
chasing.
abyssal.
Also,
No.
like there's also a prerogative where diffusal charges are basically equate to like drum charges, where like if you can guarantee a kill with each diffusal charge, that's like 8 kills. Um,
Yeah, I
and
mean
that's
it's
it's a
definitely
good
really
item.
good. Like I enjoy the item a lot. It's just the heroes that I play, besides the obvious ones, it is very rare for me, at some point in the game to be like, at this point in the game, I am tanky enough to get a new item, and I have an item slot open, and Diffusal is the ideal candidate for that item slot. Like
Yeah,
that's a very rare situation.
yeah. I think to wrap it up in like diffusal talk corner this week, I think it's definitely not a one position item, and unless you're obviously like an obvious carrier for it, like Naga or PL. Or if it's like
Or
a
Spectre,
super
of course.
niche thing, yeah, Spectre. Um,
Anti-mage.
yep, anti-mage, duh. And the that being said, it's very efficient if you're playing like a Mirana, which I actually, if this is like a game where I need to build damage, like if we have a really crappy carry or something, I would not be surprised like if I see myself going diffusal because it is just like a lot of stats, for a relatively cheap cost and it gives utility. To move back to Mirana items and away from diffusal, I view Mirana as like I want cheap stats early, and then like my after I have like treads or phase, Aquila, and then like maybe like drums, and then I'll probably go for like either diffusal if we need it, or a deso, or a maelstrom. Like those are like the three paths
Yeah.
basically. If we get like a flow
Dude,
chart.
Deso on like auxiliary melee attackers is so good. Like if I'm against a Venge and like the game hits 60 minutes and there are four Venge as a Deso, I'm just like, fuck, man, this is gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I
That's some
completely agree.
utility.
Deso, I think is was in a similar position, right? Deso got like a bunch of incremental buffs, and then suddenly it's just like, dude, I want Deso on every hero because now
Yeah,
it's like, oh boy, it costs what 3,500 gold for
yeah.
like a bunch of damage and minus armor. Like, yeah, god item.
It's like the last orb that doesn't or that does stack or rather, yeah, the last orb that does not stack with lifesteal. Everything
Yeah,
else is like, yep, a full speed ahead, diffusal, Scotty lifesteal, let's go. But Deso
yep,
is still on its own island.
yeah. It's a special ability. Um, all right. So that being said, do we have any more closing notes before we actually want to go play our
Um,
game?
yeah, I'm doing Wog of Void as I said. I think I'm just gonna
Yes.
go. What is it like? Iron Talon, Reds, Vanguard, Radiance. Is that the shit?
Yeah, as far as I know, I think I've seen sometimes where they get like a Bassi, because he does have some mana problems, or
Yeah,
like just a
yeah.
wand,
Aki is
so you
common.
have a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
see.
mana.
I was looking at Badman trying to see. He recently when he plays him off lane, he normally does. He goes standard, but he played him solo a lot. He just got like treads, wand, Aki, and then Vanguard, Radiance, Manta, that kind of shit. And then I think if you do really bad, instead of Radiance, you can just go Diffusal, which I think is cool, and that's kind of relevant to what we were talking about before. Like Diffusal Void as a 3, I think is pretty viable.
Yeah, all right. So that being said, I am looking forward to it. I have not actually, like I said, I play a lot of Faceless Void, but I have not played Waga Void,
Yeah,
like at all. I haven't even tested it. I just play like the basic, fundamentals like Iron Talon, Treads, Wand, Vlad's, Blink, Ags. That's like my basic build, and I do
yeah.
that. And I love Faceless Void. I used to play him all the time as a safe laner.
I
I know
hate
you
you.
really didn't like that
Yeah,
patch, but I like the hero a lot, and he has potential for some really flashy, high skill plays. Also, some super throwy, terrible chronos, which
yeah.
not. I
This
mean,
is
I've never made a mistake in my entire life, so like I wouldn't know
right.
that.
We're
But
similar.
yeah, but I've made some god chronos. That being said, I'm looking forward to the game, even if we continue and perpetuate our horrific losing streaks, because I think all my party losses have been with you, and that's like 5 losses in a row or something.
Dude, we've only played like 2 party games.
Yeah, recently, but like the ones before that have also been losses. That being said, I think we can overcome our malaise on Dota and win a game.
I'm gonna
That being
fucking
said,
fact check this shit.
okay, you do that. I'm gonna vamp, I suppose. You'll be able to watch our game singular of Dota, where we play Mirana and Faceless Void, on our YouTube channel .ptv1. It's a numerical one, and that's where you can keep up with all of the latest .p stuff. Mostly it's just our Theory Crafting Thursday things right now. I know once my semester's over, I will be doing more of play reviews and other potentially fun content. So look forward to the game. And
All right,
if you
here we
okay,
go.
can
Of our last 12 games together, we've only lost 4 of them. So fuck you.
but has it been the most recent 4?
Yep. Oh, the last 4, we lost the last 4, but not 5. So fuck you.
Yep. Okay, that's fair. We won't make it 5. We'll keep it.
Yeah,
We'll
you
keep
gotta
you
keep
right.
that false.
Boy, I'm surprised. I honestly thought it was gonna be like 2 and then like 1 win and then another 2. Anyway,
No, no, yeah.
so let's go play a game of Dota 2, shall we?
Oh god, fuck.
All right, hello everyone. We're back. Hello. We just played a game of Dota. We played Faceless Void Mirana. It was something. Let's not focus on the actual game, shall we, Proud? But instead, let's talk about individually what we thought about each hero. I guess I'll go.
Okay.
I guess I'll go first. The spoiler was this game was terrible. Like let's see if I pull it up here.
Worst game of my life.
It w- it was bad. It was not something. Oh yeah. It was. Let's see. All right. Well, while I'm like stuttering for a half an hour, let's see this game. All right. So we lost. It was only a 30-minute game, and as per usual, I'll just say the teams. It is on the enemy team: Crystal Maiden, Lion, Shadow Shaman, which is weird. Yes, we know. We thought we had won when we saw that, and then it was Wraith King and Invoker. Of course, 6.86, and we had Mirana, Faceless Void, Tinker, Ogre Magi, Slark, and looking at those teams, all right. So generally, when you see three squishy supports and your team has a bunch of heroes that are good at killing supports, you're like, all right, cool, easy, we won. But unfortunately, their team had a Wraith King that went super out of control and an Invoker that was pretty handily won mid. So again, like it was kind of a stomp. So there's not much fun, right, for either of us to talk about how we lost. But individually speaking about the heroes, how did you think Faceless Void? You would say this
Um,
was definitely not a Faceless Void game, right?
yeah, I felt pretty bad about the game. Like I got experience the whole time. Like I was above the Wraith King on experience. But then, like, kind of thinking back on it, like Lion is kind of like the if you're gonna pick one support to kill Faceless, it's like Lion is a pretty good candidate. Disruptor is kind of the other one.
Hmm.
So Lion was really good. And then I was talking earlier about how like Faceless can like bully almost any carry 1v1. Not Wraith King because like Faceless Void's advantage is he can trade hits with you and then backtrack the damage. Wraith King's plus is that he has lifesteal like all the time
Yep.
and crit, and he's big and he's tanky, and he also starts with like 60 base damage. So it really is not much of an advantage. And also his stun is as long as your backtrack. So it's you will not backtrack the stun damage, and he'll probably kill you in the duration of the stun if Lion is next to him. So that's probably if I were to pick any two heroes to go against, those would both be the last two,
Yeah.
and that was them.
Also, like thinking back to the like old days of carry Faceless Void, one of the common counters was carry Wraith King because all right, you chrono him, you
Yeah.
kill him in the chrono, he's back, and he is
Yep.
the same problem as always. So
Yeah,
again,
so I
yeah,
think that was probably the worst thing to be that game. So that was good.
yeah. I mean that's kind of right. The unfortunate fault in running any combo, whether it's you and a buddy playing some combo that's one of the classics like CM Jug or whatever. You might win with that combo 80% of the time, but sometimes you just like if you're banking on picking a combo, you're just gonna get screwed, and you're gonna get you're gonna pick something with a Wraith King, and the enemy team's gonna like first pick a AM, and you're just gonna cry.
Yeah,
Or in this case, you're gonna play something with Faceless Void Mirana, and they are going to pick a Wraith King.
a guy who
Although,
comes back to life after your one pick off that you can do.
yeah. Also, we kind of how in pub Dota, like there's something to be said in that like every team just needs a leader, and you just kind of need to do something. So occasionally somebody makes a call, and I don't know if you do this as much as I do, but somebody makes a call, and I'm just like, all right, if I don't go along with this, I'm gonna get flamed. It's gonna tilt everybody, and it's not that bad of an idea. So like, let's just do it. Whatever. I'll just listen to the guy. And we did that this game, and we both consciously. So our ogre magi called. He's like, yo, all right, let's gank this Wraith King. He's getting fat.
This Wraith King with an armlet and like fucking 1,100 health, like
Yeah.
10 minutes.
He
Ugh.
didn't have an armlet yet during the
No,
game.
he did. He armlet toggled after he got out of his stun lock.
He got it in the middle of the gank, but we killed him
Okay,
before it
maybe a courier
came.
came or something.
Yeah, Courier came mid fight. Because I remember
Okay.
I was looking and he had treads,
Okay, he
helm.
had like all the pieces. Okay.
Yeah, he had treads, helm of the Dominator, mango.
Either way, he was a big
Yeah,
boy.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff. But I mean, regardless of arm load or not, he was level 8, so he had ult. And it was one of those times where I was just like, there's no way we kill him, and we were both saying
Yeah.
this in Discord. And if
We're
you listen, watch
faceless,
the game, like
fa-
you'll see it.
faceless void with no damage, a Mirana who is a support and a support ogre magi. Like you're not gonna kill a Wraith King twice before they
Yeah,
TP and kill all of you.
yeah. And so then they rotated like one person down, and they just like I think they killed all three of us.
Triple kill for Wraith King.
Yeah, and that was the first of many because the Wraith King ended up 22-1, and boy, this was an easy game for him. Our Wraith King game last week does not hold a candle to this, that's for
Nope.
sure. Um, anyway, I like as much as obviously we got like absolutely rolled. I like actually had fun on Mirana, and fun does not always translate to wins, right? Like we said in the first half, in that there are fun heroes that do not necessarily mean they're winning heroes, but I definitely like I was satisfied with the amount of arrows I hit during the early game to like exert the amount of control that we could. We definitely really dominated top lane, and then I rotated middle, and it didn't like pan out, but I put enough pressure that it kind of hurt the invoker a little. Um, that being said, like it just didn't translate into like net worth for our team. Like eventually we had that fiasco bottom, and then Invoker got a well-timed Midas, and he ended up getting out of control, and our Tinker got behind. Um, and top
Slark
lane,
used Shadow Blade to efficiently insert himself into the middle of five and die more efficiently that way. That was cool.
yeah, our Slark like honestly was one of the worst Slarks I've ever seen in a game of Dota. But you know that's the stuff that just happens, and that's just the reality of Dota 2, right? It's not like we play a dozen games a night and one of them we pick our combo. It's like we just go in and we're like, all right, we're picking this. So it doesn't work out sometimes. I think in this game, Mirana, like the issue that I was really met with, right, was I like if I miss an arrow, I'm just worthless for like 30 seconds
Yeah.
because the cooldown on arrow is so long. I I'm gonna propose a crazy change that's absolutely imbalanced, but I want to make it anyway. What if Mirana Arrow, like in client or like on server, calculate like it took note of whether you hit it or not, and if you hit it, or if you missed it, it like cut the cooldown or cut the CD down by like a third or something. Like instead of having a 15-second cooldown, it would have a 10-second cooldown if you missed. What do you think about that? I think that would be pretty cool.
Um, I hate Arrow as a
Me too.
concept.
Honestly, I think it's a stupid ability, but if it's gonna be in Dota and it's gonna be the focus of this hero, it just sucks where it's like, well, like we were trying to defend high ground, and I made probably 60. I made at least 2/3 of my arrows, I'll say, but you miss one and it's just like, all right, they know they're safe for the next 15 seconds,
Yeah.
and
How long is it? Is it? I don't actually know the cooldown on Arrow.
I'm checking it right now. I believe it's like 15 seconds or something.
Okay, because you said 30, and I was like, Jesus Christ,
17
really?
seconds.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I
30
mean,
because it's like, all right, I used
yeah,
one.
because it feels like a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. I had math in my mind that made sense for 30 seconds, but I was absolutely not right. That there's no way I compute that's 30 seconds. Anyway, that being said, like I mean, Mirana, if you are a Mirana player and you can consistently hit those arrows and your team can do stuff with it, like there were a lot of times where I would hit an arrow and it'd be like, all right, we can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, when you're behind, like catching someone out with an arrow, like there's so many times where I'm on a team with a Mirana, and then like we're behind, but she catches someone with an arrow, and then like my whole team jumps on that person, and then they just like react and kill everyone.
Yeah.
Like arrow gives you a decent advantage, but past like I don't know 15 minutes, like arrow does not equal kill. It equals opportunity to do something if it's like nice. So it's like I don't know. You need to look for an opportunity to arrow, and then that also needs to be a good opportunity to go.
Yeah, this is actually the perfect transition into kind of the discussion we were going to have in that there are certain things you do when you're behind and certain things you do when you're ahead, right? It's all about like playing to the game state. And this game is kind of what I would call like triage Dota, where like you're really behind and you're like, all right, we can't address all these problems, so we've got to do something. And that's kind of something I would like to talk about in that like in this game we were super behind and like no game is unwinnable, right? There's clearly a way we could have played this game if we had not like had a feeding Slark and stupid things. So I think having a brief discussion on what I'm now calling triage Dota, which I'm sure is not the right term, or just playing from behind. So what would you have done in this game? Let's say like
Smoke the jungle.
yeah, okay, so that's like the simple one, right? When you're
If you're ahead, smoke their jungle. If you're behind, smoke your jungle.
so that the
Dota 2.
so that's just like the blanket statement. I mean, I'm kind
That's
of
the
agreeing with
only
that.
you sit high ground and then smoke your jungle.
I oh, okay, all right. So I kind of started this thinking that we're gonna have some like long tangential discussion, but honestly, I kind of think that's like all you really need to do.
And farm their side of the map.
When it gets boiled down, right? Okay, so
Farm their jungle, smoke your jungle, sit high ground.
so the basically the idea is if you're behind, pick people off and bank off of their net worth, or
Yeah, like they had like two supports offlaning with like crazy net worth. Like pick those kids off.
yeah, and then build Shadow Blades. I'm actually so tilted because it's freaking. So playing Slark, like both of us are Slark players, and you like Shadow Blade a lot more than I do.
It's
But
the best build for pub slark.
yeah, but not in this game at all. This is not a Shadow Blade guild build game.
I don't
This is
know.
not a Slark game, first of all. But
I
um,
I think Shadow Blade was fine this game. I
really, you
think he
think Shadow Blade
wasn't.
is fine?
Yeah, because okay, so the point of Shadow Blade is it like gives you enough damage that you can solo kill someone. Like the backstab damage plus like the extra damage on like Shadow Blade itself, like that'll be a kill. Blink is like when you want to do something with your team to follow up. Like we didn't have global presence because Tinker wasn't competent. Like if he's gonna kill a Shadow Shaman, it's not gonna be by like blinking and then dropping like one spell combo. Like Shadow Shaman lives through that and then CCs him and he dies. Like if he Shadow
See,
Blades, he can get the kill.
but the thing about Shadow Blade, especially in a game like this, is you're playing against a team with three supports and they're dominating you, so they're gonna have a ton of net worth. So he like almost never got his Shadow Blade off. Every single time, the Shadow Blade gave him
He
false confidence, and he would put himself in bad situations. Also, he was a terrible player. We're gonna
yeah,
add that
he
tent
had
add that stipulation. But
plenty of
Shadow Blade always
opportunities
does
though.
that.
Like I was watching him and like there'd be Wraith King at like 5 health with his armlet off and like his ult had been used and he would just like walk past him and hit a fucking lion at full health and then die.
Yeah.
Like he got it off. Like he caught an invoker. It's just he was so far behind that nothing happened. Like it was good. I suppose because they were like on our side of the map, so they weren't like dropping sentries into like okay, well the fact that you were Mirana made Shadowblade kind of shitty because there's a lot of reasons for them to have sentries if you're Mirana. But like in a vacuum, I think Shadowblade was cool. Like if we weren't super behind, I think Shadowblade would have been definitely the play.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree. I think like I think Shadow Blade's absolutely like to play some games, but I think this is like all maybe like not the perfect example, but a great example of a game not to build a Shadow Blade. Like they're already censoring because I have Mirana ult. They have a ton of net worth, so like basically my plan.
I'm
I've talked about this before.
pretty sure he thought about Shadowblade before he was like before they were really ahead though, right? Like he was killing his lane.
Yeah, well, we were killing his lane. He didn't get any farm because he was low health all the time.
Okay, yeah. See, that's one fucking one regen item. That's what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But we we noticed this in the video. But yeah, he came to lane with and we fought at Rune, and even though we got 2 kills, he was super low health. But he came to Rune slash lane with Stout quelling one set of tangos. Also,
Yeah.
like we didn't talk about this earlier, but the thing about starting items on cores nowadays, I feel like it's even more mandatory to have extra regen because you're like 50 to 75% of the time you're going to be fighting at Rune and you're going to not like you don't want to just eat through all your tangos after a Rune fight and then have nothing for lane, right?
Yeah. And then I mean there are so many like we used to like rush Mask of Madness on every hero, but there's so many heroes who don't do that now. Like you get lifesteal on like Sven, and that's about it. Like, Spectre doesn't get any health back until she finishes her her urn, and
Hmm.
then once she gets the urn, she only gets health back after she gets a kill. And you don't get a kill when you're at 100 health on Spectre. Like
Yeah.
you don't initiate that fight, so like you need regen. Like, Slark doesn't regen any health until he's 6. You need enough to hold you over till then. And if you're fighting at Rune or fighting against 2 supports who need to get kills, like you need some fucking regen, man.
Yeah, and the thing about that, I actually, and I don't generally do this, but I took a page out of the Proud playbook, and I was ferrying clarities out, and it was like so helpful. It was one of those things where bought a mango, and mango is not the play on Mirana. I don't think. I regret that
Yeah.
greatly. But then again, like we said earlier, I have like no Mirana games, and no Mirana games since Mango came out. So it didn't. It was just on a test, but. I was just ferrying clarities out, and it was so effective. I like 100% ferrying clarities is legit on roaming heroes.
Yeah.
If you're mid and your safe lane, etc., do not need the courier. If you're just sitting around, like bring yourself out a couple clarities. All right, 100 gold for like potentially multiple kills, totally worth it.
Yeah, if you think about like that compared to like an energy booster for mana boots or anything like that, that's 18 clarities is one energy booster. So like if you're gonna go through 18 clarities and you still say you need more mana regen, like fuck you. Like it's fine. Just
Yep,
buy a bunch of clarities, you're set.
heard it here first. Buy 18 clarities.
If you're thinking about mana boots, try out 18 clarities instead.
Yeah, yep. That this feels like some kind of terrible like sales pitch for like the clarity salesman.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like
um,
18 easy payments of 50 gold, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then like you'll get like a badge or something at the end. You
Yep.
send them all in, and you get a drink your Ovaltine ring. All right. Do you have any more closing notes on this game before we move into some what's it called? Uh, plugs. That's what those are.
Yeah, game was hard, man. This is Void, tough hero. I hadn't really played him before. I think my last game on him was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Getting Chronospheres off is pretty hard. A lot of them I thought were gonna go off and they just didn't, and then I would die, and it sucked. And I thought I was Wraith King half the time because I'm not used to being pink, or purple rather. But yeah, that was weird. Chronosphere, really good spell when you get it off correctly, and you need to draft it with some follow up. And Slark is not follow up for Chronosphere, especially if Slark's dead. So that was what I learned this game.
yeah. We definitely felt that, right? Our only like quote unquote combo, or our only sort of synergy was Tinker, and Tinker is not like. That's not some remarkable combo. Tinker, Faceless
Yeah.
Void. It just kind of worked, but
At best, they sit in March. Well, it happens very slowly, and
well,
that's
also you can't focus the Tinker,
yeah.
and like he can sit around and rearm, I guess. But absolutely, like this was, Faceless Void. Like generally, when we see Faceless Void in like pro games and stuff, you see him combo with like, all right, it's Faceless Void, Exort Invoker, or Faceless Void, and then like a Zeus, so that he can just stand around and nuke and nuke and nuke. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, or also like Faceless Void Clinks, Faceless Void Enchantress, like any
Yeah, like
kind
a
of
ranged carry, so someone who can really make use of someone sitting in place.
exactly. So you know, you win some, you lose some. We kind of we're both playing heroes that we don't actually play. So I mean, that's just how the game goes. Faceless Void is definitely a hero. If you're not like a Faceless Void player, it is rough. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I haven't played him since the change, and before the change, I had like 3 games on him.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah,
I will say I was skeptical at first of changed Faceless Void because I really liked hard farming Faceless Void, but he is a good time. And honestly, I should have played the Void, and you should have played something else. Like now that we look at it, like I'm
yeah, I
used
was
to it.
really excited to play Waggle Void, but those Chronos, man. If I got the Chronos off, it would have been fine, but I didn't, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I yeah, but just think about that bottom fight. I'm actually like so tilted.
Yeah, that was pretty rough because like I died twice and one was like okay like Lion Wraith King they have a lot of disable and then the next time it was like fucking Lion Wraith King stun Sunstrike and all that shit flying and I was
Yeah,
like there's no way I'm actually supposed to be able to survive this. The first
yeah,
death kind of a fault, second one whatever, and then like ganking Wraith King was gonna res with 0 damage heroes not the best thing you can do.
yeah. I agree completely. So you can watch the game that we just played
Or
on
you
YouTube now.
cannot. That's the other option.
Yeah, also you cannot. Like if you're thinking like, hey, I want to watch Ursinity and Proud play a video game, Maybe watch like from a few weeks ago or something. Maybe not this one. That
To
be
anything else, really.
yeah, or yeah, just watch like Waga play Faceless Void, and like maybe you'll find a game where there was a Mirana on his team, and you could pretend it's us. That's an option. Um, that being said, yeah, youtube.com/.btv1. On Twitch, we stream a lot. This weekend, we are doing a 12-hour stream. I forgot to ask Roland. It's either Friday night into Saturday or Saturday night into Sunday. I want to say it's Friday night into Saturday, but who knows? Be surprised. Follow us at .p_show and you will be alerted. Also, if you follow me or Proud, definitely me, maybe Proud, I will be retweeting and tweeting all about it. So you will be made aware if you pursue any channel of communication. I am at Ursinity, Proud is at Proud Dota. We also have, as all the lights go off in my room, so I can't read. We also have a website, defenseinvasions.com. It's not the best thing now. It has an Amazon banner, though. You should click the Amazon banner. Amazon banner is nice. Steal some money from Jeff Bezos and give it to us. We are working on our website, and to do so, we are running a GoFundMe for kind community member Captain Silverfox. It is gofundme.com/Travis on Rails, and he is going to be attending Code Core to learn Ruby on Rails and perfect the Defense of the Patients website and help us grow as a community. And, we'll also be helping him out a bit. We also have an email, defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. If you have complaints about our website or about our Mirana Faceless Void play, please send them there, and we would love to hear about them. And that's about it. Do you have any thoughts, Proud?
No,
Any
no,
waxing poetics?
nothing.
All right, perfect. That's what I like to hear. So, thanks for listening to Theory Crafting Thursday. Remember, this has been our theory, but it was our fault today. But maybe in the
Yeah, it
future
was
it'll be your
definitely our fault.
fault. It's definitely our fault, though. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
like, fuck.
It's probably our fault if you lose your game too. Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.